the table. We have a great topic and a great panelist of ladies. Victoria, why don't you go ahead and start us off?
Well, absolutely. Well, I'd love to meet each of you personally, so please introduce yourselves for us and our wonderful audience.
Hi, my name is Lola White, and I'm happy to be here today.
Yes, I'm Treya Betrell. I'm an upcoming actress in the Washington, D.C. area.
Hello, my name is Kendra Wilson. I'm a firefighter and I'm a paramedic and also an actress as well.
So we see every day in the news there's something new. So St. Mary's County, Santa Fe, Parkland shootings. Do any of you have kids? Do you feel like your kids are safe in their schools? And what can we do to make our community safer? Lola?
I do not have any kids right now. However, all these issues that keep going on, it's really scary. So I feel like it's not only in the schools, but for some reason it's been amplified in high schools, and we're trying to figure out how these kids are getting their hands on guns. So I think, it's a really disgusting, big issue, and I don't even know where to start, or I don't know. It's a crazy issue.
I think it's more of a mental and spiritual aspect. I think that guns is not the problem. It's the people behind the guns. We need to better educate our kids. Even, at home, we need to teach our kids better morals. On how to diffuse situations. Sometimes kids, as human, they're humans, and as us being grown-ups, we get put in a certain position to where we feel threatened. It's a natural human instinct to want to protect ourselves. So it's kind of like the teachers getting involved, not with carrying guns, however, by intervening and teaching a better way of diffusing situations.
I was thinking it's so important for us to start teaching tolerance and acceptance and compassion, that there's beauty and diversity. People can have opinions, and I don't think we're doing a good enough job in teaching our kids that it's okay to have a different opinion. Or
Right.
this person can, turn you down on a date, and that's okay. Like, don't be so offended you're gonna go and commit some heinous crime.
So I think that it has to do with the youth not being able to cope. And I think that is a problem that starts generationally from the parents and whomever raised those parents, so grandparents as well. What we end up doing in a society that is very open, and we have too much access to other people's lives with social media and things of that nature now that you wouldn't have had 50 years ago. We start to coddle our children, and our children are so susceptible, to other people's lives that they start to compare what they have and what they don't have. And because they don't have a good foundation, they've been coddled. They haven't been taught how to cope. That whole thing about everyone getting a trophy.
Right.
Children are thinking, and I hate to use the word, but they have an entitlement that, why can't I have that? Why can't I get that? And when they don't get those things, and back to what you said about having a strong mental stability, you're weak, you can't cope, and you don't have a strong foundation or people to back you up. You are open to doing things when you're back into a corner like a wild animal, protecting yourself. And if you have access to weapons, it's not the gun that's going to kill someone, it's the person using the gun. It could be a knife. It's not the knife that's going to kill someone, it's the person using the knife. Those people are going to be able to use those things to harm others because they don't have the tools that they need, that they should have had as a child.
And I definitely agree with that. I'm a firm believer that it starts with home. I believe that the parents need to be informed on being more attentive to their children. Like you said, as far as, if I don't have that, then why can't I have it? She has that on social media, I don't have that. Oh, well, and then you have the kids that tease them. Yeah, why don't she, why is he like that? Something's wrong with him. So if you don't give them that foundation at home, that, like you said, everything's okay, there's nothing wrong with you, you can have this, as far as being this way, there's nothing wrong with that, and being attentive of whether or not they have some type of mental, disorder, being attentive to those type of things, and then teaching our kids to have morals. you know, that everybody's not the same, but that's okay. That's okay. So I firmly
Everyone
believe
can be
that.
number one, someone has to be number two, right?
Right.
So-
And that's okay.
Exactly,
You know,
exactly.
that's
exactly.
okay.
In the media, we're seeing a lot of mental health being tied to gun control or these issues in schools. What do you ladies think? Is it really a mental health issue that we're seeing, or is it a coping issue?
I don't know, I disagree. I don't believe that all of a sudden in the past, 5 years, all of these kids have mental issues. And it's only in America that all of these kids have mental issues. I just think that it's so easy to just say it's a mental issue rather than really attacking the issue or trying to figure out what the issue is and the cause of it. Not everyone is going through mental issues. Some of them are just really mean and heartless kids. That's just what it is. That's just my opinion, but that's just, I don't believe do some have mental issues? Absolutely. But do all? No. I
So,
don't believe that.
in accordance with what you're saying, with my job and what I do, I interact with a lot of people who have mental illnesses, and mental illness is not straight up and down, right? There is a large spectrum of where mental illness can be very minor or it can be very major. And the things that you were describing, actually those are aligned with mental illness. People who seem to be heartless or they seem to be careless, those things are aligned with mental illness. Those people could be experiencing bipolar disorder. They may be at their low and we don't recognize it. And it may have not been something, it may have been a crisis that wasn't intervened on because their parents are not, what you were saying, present, or the faculty are not present. We are all at times in our palm of our hand, in our phone, because we are absent from presence. We're looking at the media, we're looking at social media, and so many things that can represent or influence our lives. So mental illness is far and vast, and there are a lot of things that people won't credit to mental illness, and it has been recently that studies have been able to attribute these things to mental illness, and that's why they're saying that. It's not that everyone is mentally ill, but to some level we all get sad, and some people can't handle that sadness.
We need to also teach that we need to respect one another. You can't have everything that someone else has. Or you have the same opportunity to get things that people have. I mean, it's so much out here, you know, that if you put the effort, you cannot obtain things that someone else has that you want. You have to learn how to be contented with what you have and respect people from the way they look, where they're from. You know, I think that we need to go back to teaching our kids love. That's something that we don't do, is looked at as a weakness, you know, instead of a strength. You know, it's kind of like we live in this gangster society. You know, it started way back when, you know, people implemented pain and control and get people to do what they want to do. The kids, they learn it. They apply pain where it needs to be to get to earn control, respect, which respect should be given. It shouldn't have to be earned. You know, they take the guns away. They'll just bring knives. They'll bring dogs. They'll bring whatever they have to do because they feel threatened. What we need to do is make them feel secure where they are. Shouldn't have to feel threatened. None of us. We've came so far. You know, with Martin Luther King, his dream, it applied to everyone, you know. And with that, he also spoke about love. We need to do that. We need to reiterate that with our kids. We need to talk to our kids. And we need to speak about things like that. We need to speak. They need to know that they have someone to talk to, somewhere to go. And they have problems, you know. Just like that movie Trey. Remember Trey and Boys in the Hood? When his brother got shot. And he wanted to go. He wanted to represent and defend his, you know. Now, if he would have done that, right? First, he would have got locked up. Somebody would have examined him as having a mental problem. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just having someone to talk to stop you and say, there's other choices.
And that's why I definitely agree with what you were saying. Sometimes, right, it might not be a mental issue, but it's a coping issue. Letting kids know it's okay, you have emotions. It's okay to be sad, it's okay to be angry, it's okay to feel anxiety, but how you deal with them, how you cope with them. And I think kids definitely need to know how coping mechanisms so that they don't go to a gun or they go to someone that they may feel and trust and understand, to let them know that it's okay to feel what you're feeling, but how to express it, how to cope with it. is definitely really important that they need to know. Victoria?
Well, I just want to say, I know Shantae and I heard it just now, but if you heard that in the background, that was our lovely rain. We had a lot of rain here recently, so we excuse the rain just a second there if you heard that. But I do want to get into the next topic here, ladies, teens and the arts. Is there any benefit to having teens involved in arts education? I think every day we hear about, oh, we're not going to fund this anymore, we're going to pull these programs out of schools. What's the benefit?
I think the benefit to having teens in arts and education, it gives them a sense of pride in what they do. When you get to be creative and you get to express yourself, you not only show people what you can do, but you show them who you are. And that will allow children to build a foundation of security within themselves and start to feel like I'm important and I belong here and what I have makes sense and it's essential to the world. If it wasn't for arts in schools, we wouldn't have musicians now and give us the art that we see, even the architecture in the world that we have. It really makes people feel like what they can add helps everybody else around them relate to them and respect them for who they are.
I think it increases self-worth. Like, I
That's
think it's
it.
beautiful to know about your talents, your skills, your abilities, your passions. You can go into the world and present yourself as a confident human being and say, hey, I can do all these great things.
Right.
Yeah, mental development, most definitely. You know, the art is a form of expression. It's also a way to release. So most definitely, we do need to have that more with the kids in school.
I remember studying band for the first time in school, and they were like, okay, you have to practice, this instrument and do this so many times. It taught me a lot about discipline and learning memorization skills. I'll never forget just sitting down and saying, hey, I learned that, I practiced that, I can do that by memory. I think it's a great learning technique as well for some people. Well,
Yeah, and I think it's a great way to express yourself. Me being in arts also, I love it, and it shows different ways people can be so creative. Not everyone can be doctors or lawyers, and entertainment. It's a great form for people to release anything they're going through, also through dancing, acting, whatever. But I think it's a great. I don't think it should be cut out of any system at all. I think it's a great program.
I think kids should also be informative, that it's not so much about painting or drawing
Right.
or acting. You could be a writer.
Absolutely.
People do very good at writing books, poetry.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You could write songs behind the singers. So I think a lot of times when people think of creative arts, they think of drawing or painting, as I said, but there's a lot of behind writing. I know when I was little, I did short stories, loved it, and I wanted to be a writer. So I think they should be informed that there's, like I said, a whole spectrum of arts, and they definitely need to be in the schools.
I think self-expression also is a stress reliever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if it's in the school, there are some things that connect the way that you relieve stress to what is going on with you at home, and different, maybe even law enforcement agencies and some psychiatrists use art in order to get into the children's minds and into adults' minds to see what your expression or your level of understanding is. So even then, being present and having that in the school, teachers can have another outlet to be able to review what children are doing. If a child is drawing something that's just dark and really like underground and scary, then that will give you some indication that this child may be experiencing something. So I think it should be in the school, not just for self-expression and stress relief, but to also allow us to have that open door of communication, just another window.
Absolutely.
I think something that's really neat is that it's also a learning tool. Some people can learn by painting or by singing or by doing things by repetition. I think it's really interesting that we want to pull it out of the schools when I think we don't understand it. It's almost misunderstood how helpful the arts can be. There's such a focus on, nothing wrong with it, but science, technology, engineering, and math. I love the STEAM program where they're inserting the arts. I think that's a beautiful thing. I think we almost underestimate it.
What's the STEAM program?
So STEAM would be science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. So they kind of drop it in there. I think that's a good
So
little
it's not
thing.
STEM anymore.
Right, so some people, when you talk about STEM, they only think about STEM, those
Right.
four, but some people are like, oh, no, we need to also include arts education,
That's
because it can be the soft skills or learning techniques or personal expression that we also need to include in schools. But I think that'd be a beautiful thing. I'd love to see more
I think so.
STEAM schools.
Schools. That's what kids should be focusing on. you know,
Right.
not
Figuring out what their passions are. I like
Right.
it.
And where they are. Like I said, I
Exactly.
agree. That's an open door for the parents to, you know, relate to their kids and what's going on, and also the teachers. So I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, Trey, you're involved, I understand, Tay, as well, in, I would say, adult arts, like you're involved in the acting world. Do you see anything, and could you tell people at home, I guess, the benefits of things that you did or you've done in the arts that have helped you as an adult? Trey?
Well, if you want to talk about presenting material, you know, you have to get up in front of people, we have to speak. You know, it's challenging, you know. Can I say? You kind of use it in every aspect of your life.
I agree.
It's been a great tool for me. As I said, I started young. I agree with her with the self-expression. I journal. I journal a lot, and it helps me to get things out on my chest and to go to a friend or make a phone call. I'm going through this, you know. Also, I have kids, so my daughter, she loves to express herself. She's able to, and I tell her, you know, go ahead and write down your journal. So already I'm teaching her that she can express herself and I can know what's going on and she can come to me. Also, I worked in the school system. So a lot of kids, like you said, it's downplayed. They don't give a lot of, you know, attention to arts. But a lot of kids like that. They like to paint. They like to, you know, do things that it makes them feel good. It's not so much that they have to do math, social studies. You know, you have to pass these classes where it doesn't give them the option to be creative, and some of them are, a lot of them are. So when I, you know, being older now, being in the, you know, the production side of things, you learn different things. You learn camera work. You learn how to edit. You know, you can make a movie. You can make a short story. So I believe in me growing up and learning those different things, I can inspire someone else. And I think that's a big thing that kids need to understand, that whatever you paint, whatever you write, whatever you do on camera or dance, it's not just making you feel good, but it's inspiring other people as well. Victory, what's our next topic?
So ladies, I think in the media recently, there was this game called Active Shooter. They decided to pull it off the shelves because it had the player going into schools and actively shooting up a school. Or, to be fair, they could play the SWAT team member who was going in and taking down the shooter.
Oh, wow.
Do you think games like these desensitize society? Is there a connection between these video games and the violence that we're seeing in schools today, or in society in general? Kendra, your thoughts?
You know, as a first responder, and I hate to keep going back to that, I've had to do some active shooter engagements in my job, and it's very scary to have that be, for lack of a better word, mocked in a game, to have people who are growing and developing have accessibility to this and become desensitized to it. Do I think that that is the cut and dry reason that children are doing this?
Right.
Absolutely not. I think it is a piece in the puzzle of disaster that we are building here in American society with all of the components that we have building on top of each other. There's been violence in the nation, period, forever. Like, even Bugs Bunny and Yosemite Sam, that was violence. And I was a child then, and I don't want to go and shoot someone.
Right.
I was picked on as a child by my own brother. I love him to death. So, you know, we go back to being able to cope. But when we have these, I like to use the expression of a stone. When you have a stone, it's firm and it's solid until something keeps nicking away at it. And eventually there are going to be chips in the stone. And all of these components that are built on that are actually against strength and growth and honest development will nick at that stone, and then you have these children who once were stones and they're breaking down because they were never really developed. So I do think there is a possibility, because all things are possible, that adds to what we already have as a component, and it's just very scary to have that as something that people could play with when people's lives have been ruined by such a thing.
It's really scary also, and I think a lot of kids, they spend so many hours on those video games, and they're playing with not just people they know, they're playing people all over the world.
Right.
They're killing them, you know, they're getting so excited, they're getting points, you know, on killing people, and I think it does, when you spend so many hours playing that, and, you know, it does go into your mind. Now, next time, like you were saying, when someone makes you mad at school, you're gonna go back to that game, well, that's what I did with that character, and what happens next? You get your parents' gun, and then that's how the school shootings happen. So it's really scary, I don't think it's a joke, but how do we remove all the games? Do we change them? Because they've always been some sort of violence, and like you brought up the Bugs Bunny issue, like I was saying, we spend so many, well, the kids, the people that play the games, spend so many hours playing these games, playing these video games and shooting people, and I think that it stays on your mind all day while you're at school, while you're at work, and that's all you constantly think about, and then you don't figure out a different way to handle situations when you have that game constantly in your mind and you think, oh, I can just do that. That's a way to resolve the issue, and it really isn't.
Yeah, because you need to know that we have other choices. If you look at Virginia Tech, for instance, that wasn't a child, that was an adult went in. And it looked like you would look at that and learn, oh, not to do that because it caused so much devastation, but again, they're looking at that and they're going back and keep using that same choice of resolving the issue. Now you got the kids getting hold of guns, bringing them in and using the same tactics, resolve the issue. I just think that it needs to go back to the school and then the teachers' education, and they need to make a class, maybe each class need to spend a certain amount of time to talk about bullying, you know what I mean? And they can talk about video games too, to counsel to see if that is, influencing them in any type of way. But I've seen bullying, as growing up, being bullied myself, and teachers would not intervene, I think that they should intervene, but not, with guns. I think that they should teach them how to diffuse and other choices, just give them other choices.
Well, we put too much responsibility on the teachers.
Well, it should be also at home too. It should start there. It really
Because the
should.
teachers could be getting bullied just as much as
Right.
the other
And it
kids.
shouldn't be, parents need to set examples.
That's what I was gonna
We're not living in, what's it, Scarface world, you know what I'm saying? Like, get you, it's like we need to just change the way we're doing things. Because the end result is that our kids are being murdered. They're being murdered. So we have to do something else, and with the video game plan, they need to speak about that too, because if that is something that is influencing in any type of way, they need to teach on how it's for playing, you shouldn't be desensitized. I mean, stuff that we see on TV, the terrorism, even for instance, that, oh gosh, we're being attacked in so many different ways. Our kids are being attacked, and it's just so much going on.
That's basically what I was going to speak on, and what you were speaking on, how, and what you were saying, it starts at home. We always want to put out commercials about anti-gun and anti-bullying and all that stuff, and all those are components in it, but it really needs to be centered on home. This stuff with the games, a lot of kids are in front of their phone. They have access to the internet, so they're looking at all times you can play games on your phone. They're too much on that. Parents are so far removed, they've got this going on, their work going on, they're emotionally unstable, they're tired, they're stressed. So it's great, just put on a game and you're all right. So we don't even recognize or think that's an issue. We think that's fine, it's helping them, they're all right. Then you said, right, it's the society. It's not just the video games. It's the music we listen to. Society even puts out that it's okay to smack a girl or, degrade a woman, or, if somebody's selling your drugs on one end and they're selling that, then I need to kill them. They're going to guns, like you said, the first thing. If it's not the guns, then it's a knife, it's whatnot. So it's not so much that. You have the terrorism. Like I said, they use trucks and cars to run over people. In Charlottesville, they just ran over, people. So it's all around. It's not even just video games. Just society in itself. It's just all changing. You have kids who are growing up in lower places that don't have a whole opportunity to see something different. They're 2 and 3 years old in the cities. They're seeing murder. They don't have to view a video game. They can walk right out their door and see someone being shot up or blown up or whatnot. So I just think, like you said, music and the videos, they're just a component. You have the stone, and it seems like that's been a foundation for us, just in itself. You had the cowboys and the Indians shooting against each other, instead of learning how to cope, and parents being attentive and teaching their kids, this. And I agree. I think we put too much on the teachers. They're already stressed enough. They're not even paid enough, and a lot of them are in that mode. Well, I don't get paid to do this. This is not my problem.
You said so many valuable things. One of the things that you said that was most valuable to me was cowboys and Indians. Because if we think over history, our way of dealing with problems is to kill other people. This is not new news. It's not new that people are killing people to resolve their problems. Every war that we've been in is that we kill people to resolve our problems. We are forcing people to do things because we want to solve our problem, our agenda. What it comes back to is who is in charge and what is their agenda. And we need to think about individuals as myself, I'm in charge. And my agenda would be to not harm you and you not to harm me. But that's where we teach that as children. That's where we teach that in a foundation of love at home. And the only thing to me that has changed within the last few years is accessibility.
Right.
People can see more. People are saying, oh my God, racism has gotten so blatant. No, it's just that you have access. People have phones now. They're pulling them out and they're saying, look at what is happening right here in front of you, and you can see it in a drop of a dime.
Right.
Violence hasn't really excelled. If we looked over history, there's not so much change, but there's more awareness. And what we have to do as a society now is be responsible for our awareness, and now we start to attack those things at the foot and say, this is what we see, this is what has been happening, how do we correct it and stop it from happening in the future?
I want to piggyback on what you just said about everything being so accessible now. Has that made us desensitized, though, in a lot of ways? Because now I find myself also, if I scrolling through Instagram, you see something bad just happened. Oh, that's so sad. We cry, we put up the hashtag this, and then we keep scrolling, right? And then next week it happens again, then we keep scrolling. Is that because, I shouldn't say is that because, but I think that's because there's been so much awareness to it, but then at the same time,
So prevalent.
yeah, it's like it's bad and it's good, and I can't figure out what it is, because I think it is making us desensitized to it, but at the same time, we need to know about it.
Well, ladies, this has been a fascinating discussion. I do invite you back to have the same discussion in the future. You all have been very insightful. We appreciate each of you. Is there anything you want to say in closing?
Let's just keep this conversation going, and thank you so much for having me. My name is Lola White, and I'm an up-and-coming actress also, so thank you.
Yes, I'm Treya Patrone again, and thanks so much for having the show, and I most definitely would want to come back.
Again, I'm Kendra Wilson, and I want to thank everyone for listening and taking part in hearing my insight as well. I appreciate being here. Thank you very much.
Well, it's always insightful, and it's always good to make people aware. So it's definitely something that we need to continue to do.
Thank you for joining us at a place at the table. We look forward to seeing you next time.